The manila envelope landed on the kitchen counter with a sound that seemed to echo through Elena Martinez's entire world. She stared at it, her hand instinctively moving to her 7-month belly where the baby, their baby, kicked as if sensing her mother's distress. "Sign them tonight," Marcus said from the doorway, adjusting his Rolex with the same casual indifference he'd used to order his morning coffee. "My lawyer says the sooner we finalize this, the cleaner the break." Elena's fingers trembled as she touched the envelope. The Los Angeles morning sun streaming through their floor-to-ceiling windows felt harsh, exposing every flaw in the illusion she'd been living. "Marcus, I'm 7 months pregnant with your daughter." "I'm aware." He walked to the espresso machine, his tailored suit crisp despite the early hour. At 39, Marcus Chen was still handsome in that sharp, calculating way that had first attracted her. But now those features seemed carved from ice. "Which is why I'm being generous with the settlement. You'll get the Honda, obviously. And I'm offering you $12,000 to help with initial expenses." $12,000. Elena felt something twist in her chest. They lived in a $3 million house in Beverly Hills. Marcus drove a Ferrari. His watch cost more than he was offering her for their child's entire future. "Where will I go?" Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "That's not really my concern anymore, Elena." He poured espresso into a cup that cost more than most people's weekly groceries. "You can stay with your sister in that apartment in Echo Park, I assume. Or maybe one of those shelters for single mothers. I hear they're quite accommodating these days." The cruelty was delivered so casually, like he was discussing the weather. Elena watched her husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, sip his coffee and scroll through his phone, probably texting Sienna. Beautiful, 26-year-old Sienna Park, the art gallery owner who'd been Marcus's business associate for the past 8 months. "Does she know about the baby?" Marcus looked up, his expression suggesting the question was tedious. "Sienna knows everything. In fact, she's the one who helped me realize I deserve better than this." He gestured vaguely at Elena, at her swollen belly and worn maternity clothes. "You've let yourself go, Elena. You're not the woman I married." Elena looked down at herself. She'd gained 45 pounds during the pregnancy, and her face was puffy from the swelling that came with carrying a child. She wore the same 3 maternity outfits on rotation because Marcus had forgotten to increase her allowance when she could no longer fit into regular clothes. "I'm carrying your child. And I'll pay child support, obviously. I'm not a monster." Marcus set down his cup with a sharp click. "But I won't pretend this marriage works anymore. Sienna understands my world, my ambitions. She's sophisticated, cultured, ambitious. He paused, searching for words that would cut deepest. "You were always meant to be temporary, Elena. A pleasant distraction before I found someone worthy of being Mrs. Chen." The words landed like physical blows. 5 years of marriage, 5 years of believing she'd finally found someone who loved her for herself rather than what she came from. All of it reduced to temporary and unworthy. "Your parents will be disappointed." Marcus actually laughed. "My parents will be relieved. They never understood what I saw in a woman from Echo Park with no family connections, no social standing, no real prospects." He checked his phone again. "Speaking of which, I need to leave in 10 minutes for a breakfast meeting. I'd appreciate it if you could pack some things and be out by tonight. Sienna wants to redecorate the guest rooms, and having you here makes things awkward." Elena felt the baby kick hard, as if protesting her father's coldness. She placed both hands on her belly, trying to center herself, trying to remember who she was beneath the humiliation and betrayal. "What about our wedding vows? For better or worse?" "Elena, please don't be dramatic." Marcus moved toward the hallway. "We both know this marriage was a mistake. I married you because you were different from the women I usually dated. Refreshingly simple, unpretentious. I didn't realize simple would become boring quite so quickly." He paused at the doorway, looking back at her with something that might have been pity. "Sign the papers. Take the 12,000. Move on with your life. It's better for everyone this way." After he left, the house felt cavernous and cold despite the California heat. Elena walked through rooms filled with furniture she'd never been allowed to choose, artwork she'd never understood, a life she'd never truly been part of. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The photo showed Marcus and Sienna at some exclusive restaurant, her hand displaying a massive diamond ring. The message below read, "Thanks for clearing the way, Elena. Some women are meant for greatness. Others are meant to serve coffee. Guess which one you are?" Elena stared at the photo, at the ring that probably cost more than most people's cars, at Sienna's perfect smile and Marcus's satisfied expression. They looked happy. Genuinely happy. Like two people who'd found exactly what they wanted. She deleted the message and walked to the bedroom she'd shared with Marcus for 3 years. In the back of her closet, behind the maternity clothes and forgotten shoes, she found what she was looking for. A small leather box, battered and worn, containing a business card she'd carried for 7 years. The card was simple, elegant: Roberto Martinez, Chairman, Martinez Global Industries. Her father's card. Elena hadn't spoken to her family in 7 years. Not since she'd stormed out of their Pasadena estate, declaring she was done with their expectations, their pressure, their assumptions about who she should marry and what kind of life she should lead. She'd changed her phone number, refused all contact, built a life as just Elena with no last name that carried weight. She'd met Marcus at a coffee shop where she worked, serving lattes to wealthy professionals who never really saw her. He'd been charming, attentive, seemingly enchanted by her lack of artifice. She'd fallen hard, believing she'd found someone who loved her for herself. Now, sitting in the bedroom of a house she'd never belonged in, Elena understood the truth. Marcus had loved her because she made him feel powerful. The rich man who'd saved the poor barista. The generous benefactor who'd elevated someone from nothing. He had no idea who she really was. Elena pulled out her phone and dialed the number she'd memorized but never called. It rang 3 times before a familiar voice answered. "Martinez residence, Isabella speaking." "Bella," Elena whispered, hearing her older sister's voice for the first time in 7 years. "It's me. It's Elena." The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. "Elena? Oh my God. Elena?" Isabella's voice climbed with emotion. "Where are you? Are you okay? Papa has had people looking for you for years. I need help, Bella. I'm pregnant, and my husband just served me with divorce papers, and her voice broke. I need to come home. Where are you right now? I'm sending a car immediately." Beverly Hills. "But Bella, I need you to understand something. My husband, he doesn't know about our family. He thinks I'm nobody." Isabella's laugh was sharp and familiar. "Nobody? Elena Maria Martinez, you're the heir to a $15 billion empire. You're not nobody. I know. And it's time Marcus Chen learned exactly who he just threw away." If you're enjoying this story of hidden fortunes and ultimate revenge, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Now, let's see what happens when Elena returns home. The Martinez family estate in Pasadena hadn't changed in 7 years. The sprawling Mediterranean villa still commanded 3 acres of perfectly manicured grounds. The fountain in the circular driveway still featured dolphins sculpted from Italian marble, and the security gate still required 3 separate clearances to pass through. Elena sat in the back of the Mercedes S-Class that Isabella had sent, watching the familiar landscape approach with a mixture of dread and relief. She'd spent 7 years running from this world. Now she was running back to it, pregnant and desperate and finally willing to admit she'd been wrong about so many things. The car stopped at the main entrance, and before Elena could even open her door, Isabella appeared, running down the marble steps in designer yoga pants and a cashmere sweater, her dark hair flying behind her. "Elena." Isabella pulled her into an embrace that was fierce despite Elena's protruding belly. "Oh my God, you're really here. You're really pregnant. You're really, she pulled back, studying Elena's face with concerned eyes. You look exhausted. I feel exhausted. Elena let her sister help her up the steps. Where's Papa? And Mama? Papa's in Barcelona handling the European expansion. Mama's at her charity luncheon downtown. But they're both flying back tonight. When I told them you'd called, Isabella's voice caught. Elena, they've been looking for you for 7 years. Do you have any idea how worried they've been? Guilt settled in Elena's stomach like lead. I know. I know I was selfish and stupid and hurt and angry and trying to find your own way. Isabella guided her into the house, through the familiar marble foyer with its soaring ceilings and crystal chandeliers. Elena, we all understood why you left. We just wished you'd let us explain before you did. They settled in the sunroom, surrounded by windows overlooking the rose garden that Elena's mother tended with obsessive care. A maid brought tea and fresh fruit, and Elena felt the bizarre disconnect of being back in a world where people anticipated your needs before you voiced them. Tell me about him, Isabella said quietly. Your husband. Elena sipped her tea, organizing her thoughts. His name is Marcus Chen. He's 39, owns a tech consulting firm worth about $40 million. We met 5 years ago when I was working at a coffee shop in West Hollywood. Working at a coffee shop. Isabella repeated the words carefully. Elena, you have a trust fund worth $200 million. Why were you working at a coffee shop? Because I wanted to be normal. I wanted someone to love me for myself, not for our family's money or connections or social position. Elena set down her cup. And for a while, it worked. Marcus thought I was just Elena the barista. Sweet, simple Elena with no family and no prospects. He liked feeling like he was rescuing me. And now? Now he's divorcing me for his 26-year-old girlfriend who owns an art gallery and understands his sophisticated world. The bitterness in Elena's voice surprised even herself. He offered me $12,000 in our old Honda. He told me to find a shelter for single mothers. Isabella's expression went from sympathetic to furious in seconds. He what? He doesn't know, Bella. He has no idea our family owns Martinez Global Industries. No idea Papa sits on the board of half the Fortune 500 companies. No idea I'm the heir to $15 billion. Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. He called me temporary. Said I was never meant to be anything more than a pleasant distraction. Elena, you need to tell him the truth. I need to show him the truth. There's a difference. Elena placed her hands on her belly, feeling her daughter kick. For 7 years, I ran from being a Martinez. I was ashamed of the money, the expectations, the assumptions people made. But Marcus just taught me something important. What's that? That there are worse things than being underestimated for your wealth. There's being underestimated because someone thinks you have no worth at all. Isabella was quiet for a moment, then smiled with an expression Elena recognized from childhood, the look their father wore when planning a particularly satisfying business strategy. What do you want to do? I want Marcus to meet the real Elena Martinez. I want him to understand exactly what he threw away. And I want to make sure my daughter never grows up thinking she has to hide who she is to be loved. Then let's get to work. Isabella pulled out her phone. But first, we need to get you to Dr. Chen's office. You're 7 months pregnant, and I'm guessing your prenatal care hasn't been exactly consistent. Over the next week, Elena underwent a transformation that felt like coming back to herself after years of pretending to be someone else. Dr. Diana Chen, one of Los Angeles' top OBGYNs and a family friend, examined her thoroughly and declared both mother and baby healthy despite the stress. Your daughter is strong, Dr. Chen said, pointing to the ultrasound screen where Elena's baby appeared in grainy black and white. Good heartbeat, proper development, measuring right on schedule. But Elena, I'm concerned about your blood pressure. The stress you've been under isn't good for either of you. I know. That's changing now. Elena moved into the guest house on her family's property, a 3-bedroom cottage that was larger and more luxurious than the house she'd shared with Marcus. Isabella helped her shop for maternity clothes that actually fit properly, designer pieces that made her feel beautiful rather than hidden. "You've been wearing clothes 3 sizes too small," Isabella said, watching Elena try on a flowing Valentino dress that accommodated her belly while somehow making her look elegant. "Did Marcus ever increase your allowance after you got pregnant?" "He said I needed to learn to budget better." Isabella's expression turned murderous, but she said nothing, just added 6 more dresses to their pile. The family lawyer, James Morrison, no relation to the characters in the inspirational stories, but equally competent, reviewed Marcus's divorce papers with mounting disbelief. "He's offering you $12,000? For a child?" James looked up from the documents, his gray eyebrows raised. "Elena, does your husband have any idea about your financial situation?" "None whatsoever." "And the prenup he's referencing, the one he claims entitles him to most of the marital assets?" "I signed it as Elena Martinez without any disclosure of my family background. He never asked, and I never told." James leaned back in his chair, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Elena, this prenup is worthless. Marcus Chen entered into a marriage contract based on fraudulent assumptions about your financial position. Not only is it unenforceable, but his attempt to use it to limit your settlement could be considered fraud. I don't want his money, James. I want something else." "What?" "I want him to know. I want Marcus and his girlfriend and everyone who watched him humiliate me to understand exactly who I am and what he lost." James's smile widened. "I think we can arrange that." On the 8th day after leaving Marcus's house, Elena received a text message from her soon-to-be ex-husband. "Elena, you haven't signed the papers yet. I need this finalized before my wedding to Sienna next month. Please be reasonable." She stared at the message for a long moment, then typed her response. "I'll sign them at your wedding. Consider it my gift to you both." Marcus's reply came within seconds. "That's not funny, Elena. I'm not joking. See you there." She blocked his number before he could respond, feeling a satisfaction that surprised her with its intensity. That evening, Roberto Martinez arrived home from Barcelona, and Elena met him in his study, the same room where they'd had their catastrophic argument 7 years ago about her future and her choices and who she was supposed to marry. Her father looked older, his dark hair more silver than she remembered, but his eyes were the same, sharp, assessing, and now filled with tears when he saw his youngest daughter for the first time in 7 years. "Mija," he whispered, crossing the room in 3 long strides and pulling her into an embrace that felt like coming home. "My Elena. My stubborn, brilliant, impossible Elena. Papa, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything." Shoo, he held her carefully, mindful of her belly. "We talk about the past later. Right now, I need to meet my granddaughter." Elena placed her father's hand on her belly, and right on cue, the baby kicked hard. Roberto laughed, the sound breaking through 7 years of silence and hurt. "She's strong. Like her mother and her grandmother and all the Martinez women before her." He led Elena to the leather chairs by the fireplace. "Now, Isabella tells me you need help dealing with a situation involving your husband. Ex-husband, soon. If everything goes according to plan. Tell me everything." Elena told him, about Marcus, about Sienna, about the divorce papers and the $12,000 and the suggestion that she find a shelter. She told him about working at a coffee shop, about hiding her identity, about trying to find love that wasn't connected to the Martinez name. When she finished, Roberto was quiet for a long time. "Do you love him?" he finally asked. "This Marcus Chen?" Elena considered the question honestly. "I loved who I thought he was. But the man who handed me divorce papers while I'm carrying his child? That's not someone I ever really knew." "Then we make him understand his mistake." Roberto stood and moved to his desk, pulling out his phone. "James tells me your husband owns a tech consulting firm. Chen Innovations. It's worth about $40 million. And who are his major clients?" "I don't know exactly. He never discussed business with me. Said I wouldn't understand the complexities." Roberto made a sound that was half laugh, half growl. He told the daughter of Roberto Martinez that she wouldn't understand business. That's almost funny. He dialed a number. Ricardo? Yes, it's Roberto. I need information on a company called Chen Innovations. Everything: clients, contracts, financial structure, vulnerabilities. I need it by tomorrow morning. After he hung up, he smiled at Elena. Your husband is about to learn something important about underestimating Martinez women. Marcus Chen stood in his office at Chen Innovations, staring at the email that had just destroyed his carefully constructed world. The sender was Ricardo Moreno, CEO of Moreno Technologies, Marcus's largest client, accounting for 60% of his company's revenue. Dear Mr. Chen, after careful consideration, Moreno Technologies has decided to terminate our consulting contract with Chen Innovations effective immediately. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. No explanation. No warning. Just a clean, brutal severance of the relationship that had built his company into a $40 million enterprise. Marcus picked up his phone and called Ricardo's direct line. It went straight to voicemail. He tried 3 more times with the same result. His assistant knocked and entered without waiting. Mr. Chen, I have Westport Systems online too. They're calling about their contract renewal. Marcus felt a flutter of hope. Westport was his second largest client. Maybe they could increase their business to compensate for losing Moreno. He picked up the phone with forced cheerfulness. Richard, good to hear from you. I was just about to call about expanding our services. Marcus, I'll be brief. We're not renewing our contract. Our lawyers will send the formal notice this afternoon. The line went dead. Over the next 3 hours, Marcus watched his company disintegrate in slow motion. Every major client called to cancel. Every new business prospect suddenly had other priorities. By 4 p.m., Chen Innovations had lost 80% of its projected revenue for the next quarter. His business partner, David Wong, appeared in his doorway looking pale. Marcus, what the hell is happening? It's like someone orchestrated a coordinated attack on our client base. Someone did. Marcus pulled up Google and searched for Martinez Global Industries. The results made his blood run cold. Martinez Global Industries was one of the world's largest conglomerates, $15 billion in annual revenue, operations in 40 countries, board members who sat on every major corporation in America. And buried in an old Forbes article from 8 years ago, Marcus found what he was looking for. A family photo at some charity gala. Roberto Martinez, chairman and CEO, standing with his wife Carmen and their 2 daughters. The younger daughter was labeled Elena Martinez, 21, recently graduated from Stanford with degrees in business and art history. The face in the photo was younger, more polished, but unmistakably his wife. Oh God, Marcus whispered. Oh God. David looked over his shoulder and saw the article. Is that Elena? Your Elena? She's not my Elena anymore. Marcus felt something crack in his chest. She's Elena Martinez, heir to $15 billion. And I just offered her $12,000 and told her to find a shelter. Marcus, you need to call her. You need to apologize. Fix this. I can't. She blocked my number. Marcus stared at the photo, at Elena's confident smile before she decided to hide from her own identity. David, what have I done? His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mr. Chen, this is James Morrison, attorney for Elena Martinez. My client wishes to inform you that she will attend your wedding to Mississippi Park as previously stated. She looks forward to meeting you both in person. Dress code, black tie. Invitation to follow. Marcus felt the world tilt beneath him. Elena was coming to his wedding. Not to stop it or make a scene, but to, what? Watch him marry Sienna? Deliver some kind of message? He thought about the clients who'd abandoned him in perfect coordination. Thought about the Martinez family's known influence in nearly every major industry. Thought about his casual cruelty over the past months, his assumption that Elena had no options and no power. David, I think I'm in trouble. You think? David sat down heavily. Marcus, you served divorce papers to a billionaire while she was pregnant with your child. You're not in trouble. You're in a disaster. That evening, Marcus sat alone in the house he'd shared with Elena, surrounded by the furniture and artwork and expensive things that had once made him feel successful. Now they felt hollow, purchased with money that was nothing compared to the fortune he'd walked away from. His phone rang. Sienna's name flashed on the screen. Marcus, darling, the caterer needs final numbers for the wedding. Should I tell them 200 guests? Marcus thought about Elena's promise to attend. Thought about what she might say or do when she arrived. Sienna, we need to talk about something. What's wrong? You sound strange. I just found out something about Elena. About her family. What about them? I thought you said she didn't have any family. I was wrong. Very wrong. Marcus closed his eyes. Sienna, Elena is the daughter of Roberto Martinez. Of Martinez Global Industries. The silence on the other end lasted so long that Marcus thought she'd hung up. The Martinez family? Sienna's voice had changed, losing its playful quality. The $15 billion Martinez family? Yes. And you're divorcing her? She's coming to our wedding, Sienna. She said it's her gift to us. Another long silence. Then, Marcus, I think I need to reconsider some things. I'll call you tomorrow. She hung up before he could respond, and Marcus sat alone in the gathering darkness, understanding for the first time the full scope of his mistake. He thought he was trading up, leaving the simple barista for the sophisticated gallery owner. But he'd actually traded a fortune beyond imagination for a relationship built on assumptions about money and status. And Elena Martinez wasn't coming to his wedding to cry or beg or make a scene. She was coming to show him exactly what he'd thrown away. The morning of Marcus's wedding arrived with brilliant California sunshine that seemed designed to mock the chaos brewing beneath the surface. Elena woke in her childhood bedroom, now redecorated but still familiar, and felt her daughter kick as if eager to participate in the day's events. We're going to show your father who we really are, Elena whispered to her belly. And then we're going to live our lives without looking back. Isabella appeared with coffee and a knowing smile. Your dress arrived. The designer personally delivered it at 6 a.m., which I think speaks to how seriously Papa takes this entire situation. The dress was a masterpiece, midnight blue silk that draped elegantly over Elena's 7-month belly while somehow making her look like royalty rather than just pregnant. The designer had added subtle embroidery along the hem, the Martinez family crest, small enough to be tasteful but clear enough to send a message. You look like someone who belongs on magazine covers, Isabella said as Elena examined herself in the mirror. You look like exactly who you are. Dr. Chen had cleared Elena for the event with strict instructions to remain seated as much as possible and to leave immediately if she felt any unusual symptoms. James Morrison had coordinated with the venue to ensure Elena would have private access and security. And Roberto Martinez had made one phone call that morning that changed everything. Marcus stood at the altar of the Riverside Hotel ballroom, watching 200 guests fill the elegant space. Sienna had spared no expense, white orchids everywhere, a string quartet playing Vivaldi, champagne flowing freely. But Sienna herself had been distant all morning, her usual enthusiasm replaced with nervous energy. She'd already asked him twice if he was sure about this, if maybe they should postpone until things settled down with Elena. Marcus had no idea what she meant by that, but he suspected he was about to find out. The ceremony was scheduled for 2 p.m. At 1:45, the ballroom doors opened and Elena Martinez entered. She wasn't alone. Elena walked slowly due to her advanced pregnancy, but her posture was regal, her head held high. She wore a blue dress that probably cost more than Marcus's car, and her dark hair was styled in soft waves that framed a face Marcus barely recognized. This wasn't the Elena who'd served him coffee 5 years ago. This wasn't even the Elena who'd signed divorce papers with shaking hands. This was someone entirely different. Someone powerful. Behind her walked Roberto Martinez, recognizable from the countless magazine covers and business profiles. Next to him was Elena Martinez, herself a powerhouse executive at Martinez Global Industries. And following them, like an honor guard, were a dozen other people Marcus recognized from Forbes lists and business journals. Board members. CEOs. People who controlled more wealth than Marcus could imagine. The guests began to notice. Whispers rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Is that Elena Chen? Why does she look like that? That's Roberto Martinez. Why is Roberto Martinez here? Oh my God, Marcus's wife is a Martinez? The Martinez family? Sienna grabbed Marcus's arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into his sleeve. You never mentioned her family was that family. I didn't know, Marcus whispered, watching Elena take a seat in the front row, the row reserved for family. Roberto sat beside her, his expression pleasant but his eyes sharp enough to cut glass. The officiant looked confused, checking his watch. Shall we begin? Marcus nodded numbly, and the ceremony started. But he couldn't focus on the words or the vows or Sienna standing beside him. He could only watch Elena in his peripheral vision, sitting calmly with her hands on her belly, looking like she belonged exactly where she was. When the officiant reached the part about objections, Marcus half expected Elena to stand. But she remained seated, a small smile playing at her lips. The ceremony continued. Sienna's hands shook as she repeated her vows. Marcus stumbled over his own words. Finally, the officiant pronounced them married, and polite applause filled the ballroom. But before Marcus could kiss his new wife, Roberto Martinez stood. If I might have everyone's attention for a moment, he said, his voice carrying easily through the space. I'd like to make a toast to the happy couple. Marcus felt his stomach drop. This was it. Whatever Elena had planned, it was happening now. Roberto raised his champagne glass. Marriage is a beautiful institution built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. My daughter Elena believed in those principles when she married Mr. Chen 5 years ago. She loved him enough to hide her own identity, to work in a coffee shop, to pretend she was someone ordinary so he could love her for herself rather than for her family's fortune. The room had gone completely silent. But as we all know, some people's true character only emerges when they think they hold all the power. When they believe their partner has no resources, no options, no worth beyond what they choose to assign. Roberto's smile was sharp as broken glass. Mr. Chen served my pregnant daughter with divorce papers, offering her $12,000 and suggesting she find a shelter for single mothers. He had no idea that the woman he was discarding is the heir to Martinez Global Industries. Gasps echoed through the ballroom. Sienna's face had gone white. So I'd like to toast Mr. Chen and his new bride, Roberto continued. May you build the life you deserve together. And may you both remember that underestimating someone is the most expensive mistake you can make. He drained his glass and sat down. Marcus stood frozen, feeling 200 pairs of eyes boring into him. Sienna had released his arm and taken a step back, as if trying to distance herself from the disaster unfolding. Elena stood carefully, supported by Isabella. She walked to the microphone the DJ had been using, her movements measured and graceful despite her condition. Thank you for that toast, Papa, she said softly. But I'd like to add something. She looked directly at Marcus for the first time. I don't want Marcus's money or his company or his apologies. I want something much simpler. What? Marcus found his voice, though it came out as a croak. I want our daughter to know her father. Not the version of you that I was married to, the man who could be cruel and dismissive and blind to anyone he considered beneath him. But the real you, the man you'll become when you finally understand that a person's worth isn't measured by their bank account or social status. Elena placed her hands on her belly. So here's my gift to you, Marcus Chen. I'm not going to destroy your company or ruin your reputation or take everything you own. I'm going to give you the same chance you gave me when we met, a chance to be loved for yourself, not for what you have or who you know. She gestured to the gathered crowd. These people? The Martinez family connections, the business leaders, the Forbes list regulars? They're my world. But you chose Sienna, and she chose you, presumably for reasons beyond money and status. So I hope you'll both be very happy together. Elena turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Marcus? Your major clients didn't abandon you because of my family's influence. They abandoned you because when we started investigating your business practices for the divorce proceedings, we discovered some interesting accounting irregularities. I believe the IRS will be contacting you soon about those. She walked out of the ballroom on her father's arm, leaving absolute chaos behind. Marcus turned to Sienna, but she was already removing her veil. I'm sorry, Marcus. I can't do this. I thought I was marrying someone successful and powerful. I didn't sign up for IRS investigations and public humiliation. She walked away, her wedding dress trailing behind her like a white flag of surrender. The guests began filing out, avoiding Marcus's eyes. Within 15 minutes, the ballroom was empty except for Marcus and the wedding planner, who was very carefully not making eye contact. Marcus collapsed into a chair, surrounded by $10,000 worth of white orchids that would die by tomorrow, and understood that he'd just lived through the most expensive mistake of his life. Not expensive in money, though the IRS investigation Elena mentioned would probably cost him plenty. Expensive in understanding, finally, what he'd thrown away when he decided Elena Martinez wasn't worth his time. 3 months later, Elena gave birth to Sofia Carmen Martinez in the same hospital where she'd been born 28 years earlier. The baby was healthy, beautiful, and had her father's dark eyes and her mother's determined chin. Marcus was there for the birth, standing awkwardly in the corner while Roberto Martinez held his daughter's hand and Isabella coordinated with nurses. When Sofia was finally placed in Elena's arms, Marcus approached carefully. "She's perfect," he whispered. "She is," Elena agreed.